Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's that time of year again. It's time for our predictions. Blake, a lot's happened since last year. I think the last video we did was the trade deadline.
Yeah.
But before we get to these predictions, Blake, your team went all the way, came up a little short, but um, getting into these predictions, I think we'll see them quite a bit here, and that is the Toronto Blue Jays if you're the first time viewer.
Yep.
But yeah, we have some honorable mentions before we get in the top 50. So we'll start there. We have a lot to unpack here. It's about 58 names. So let's get it going. First off, we have Rhys Hoskins. I think he's going to end up with Miami. Miami needs a first baseman. He provides some pop. They could flip him in the middle of the year. And they actually had a decent year last year where they were in it, then back out of it, then in it. So maybe a guy like Rhys Hoskins, you bring him to the table and he can help that young offense.
Yeah, I could see him going to a team like Colorado, rebuild the value a little bit. I just feel like it'd be a good land spot, put up a good offensive season, and then kind of reevaluate where he's at after that.
Next up, we got Paul Goldschmidt. I am going to the Pittsburgh Pirates. I think he's going to take on that role of Andrew McCutchen the past couple of seasons. But quite honestly, if it's not the Pirates or a team like that, I could see him retiring. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. I have him going back to Arizona. It's kind of like we're back where it all started, but I wouldn't not be shocked to see him retire also. He had a really good run, really good career.
next up, we have Mike Yastrzemski. I am going to the Cubs. They're obviously losing Kyle Tucker. Spoiler alert. I think both of us have that. And I think all signs kind of point towards that. I think they'll put their funds into other parts of their roster, but I think Mike Yastrzemski would be a good left-handed bat, at least in a platoon role.
Yeah, I got Yaz going to Washington. I think it'd be a good little left-handed bat to kind of slide in there, some veteran leadership to a pretty young core.
Next up, we have Kenley Jansen. I have him returning back to the Angels. He's trying to accumulate saves. He had a really nice year this past year. He only blew one save. He's enjoys being in Southern California. If it's not going to be the Dodgers, see him go back to the Angels and continuing on his path.
Yeah, I have him going back to the Angels too, and obviously, it's cool to see him climb up the all-time closer rankings. Last year, he had a really good year for them. I have him going back as well.
Next up, we have Jose Quintana. I am going to the Braves. They need some back end starting depth as well as maybe one top end starter. And I think it would be a nice spot for him to go and gain some value.
Yeah, I have Quintana going to, I guess we can call him the Sacramento A's. Spent a little bit of money last year. I could see him, going there on a 1 year, kind of cheap deal there to help him out with some depth.
Next, we got Marcell Ozuna. I have him going to the Twins. It kind of reminds me of a Nelson Cruz type deal. I know Nelson Cruz was more productive at the time he went to the Twins back in the day,
Yeah.
but them being able to slide a power hitting DH on a 1 year deal into their lineup as I don't know what they're doing, retool, rebuild, whatever you want to call it. I think it's a good fit.
Yeah, they had a fire sale at the deadline, and this is a veteran bat. I have him also going to the Twins as well.
And next up, we have Cedric Mullins. I am going to the Angels. The Angels need left-handed bats. They need a center fielder. And yeah, I don't think it's going to cost too much. Defensively, he took a step back, but still be an upgrade over whatever they had last year. So, yeah, I got him landing with the Angels.
As a Jays fan, I was pumped to see this guy leave the AL East, but I actually have him going back to Baltimore. I just think it's a comfortable fit for him, probably a 1 year deal back in Baltimore.
And the last honorable mention, we have Zach Eflin. I also see him ending up with Atlanta. If it's not Quintana, I could see Eflin, who I think's a step above Quintana, ending up with the Braves and them adding, they need a 3-4 type starter, and he'd be the perfect fit.
Yeah, I have him going to the A's. I mean, the A's have a lot of good young position players. Obviously, rookie of the year in Kurtz, and you got all this talent there, and I think it's time to start adding some starting pitching because I feel like that's their pitching lost them a lot of games. The offense is respectable.
Yeah. And next we have Willie Castro. Well, Blake, it's your time to shine here. I think he's going to the Blue Jays. We don't know what's going to happen with Bo Bichette. He kind of fills that need of a utility player, can play everywhere. They're going to lose IKF,
Yep.
and he's a better version of IKF. So I think Willie Castro to the Blue Jays to start their offseason would be a good fit.
I got Willie Castro going to the Cubs, like you said, a guy that can he's kind of a Swiss Army knife. We could have put Willie Castro on about 10 teams. Like a lot of teams could use a guy like Willie Castro, but I have him going to the Cubs.
At 49, we have Victor Carantini. I have him going to Arizona Diamondbacks to sit right behind Gabby Moreno. He was banged up last year, provides a nice 1-2 punch there. I think the D backs are going to be kind of shock us this offseason.
Okay, interesting. I got Carantini going to the Royals, kind of set behind Salvi, who just signed an extension before the offseason started. But yeah, I'd be a good fit behind Salvi.
At 48, we have Max Scherzer. Scherzer just needs to end up being either one, a Yankee, or two, the Red Sox. And I'm going to put him on the Red Sox. They need some starting pitching. If they can add a pitcher or two, they should have some decent depth with Patrick Sandoval, who hasn't even thrown for them yet, coming back. Some other guys were injured last year, like Hauk. But yeah, I think that Scherzer can be a nice fit in Boston.
Yeah, I got Scherzer going back to Detroit. Obviously, we don't know what's going to go on with Tariq Skubal this offseason. He could get moved potentially this winter. And, the last couple of years in the playoffs, their starting pitching plans have kind of really costed them in the playoffs. So it'd be pretty wise for them to add at least one or two starting pitchers this winter. But yeah, I could see Scherzer going back to the Tigers.
At 47, we have Tyler Mahle. Sticking with the Toronto Blue Jays theme, they need pitching as well. They just lost Bassett. They are going to lose Scherzer potentially. So really, they only have three starters: Bieber, Yasavage, and Gosman. And Gosman's on a 1-year deal, so I could see them taking a stab at Tyler Mahle, putting him in the back end of their rotation.
Yeah, I got Mahle going to Miami. They're not going to spend a lot, but it's going to be a relatively cheap 1-year deal to the Marlins, I think.
At 46, we have Emilio Pagan. I have him going to the Giants. The Giants traded away some bullpen pieces last year. They need a back end piece to close games. He has some experience. He's going to be reasonably cheap. I think the Giants will be in his market.
Yeah, I got Pagan going to the Cubs. Obviously, Brad Keller's a pending free agent. They're going to lose some punch in that back end of that bullpen. I got Pagan going to the Cubs.
Next up at 45, we have Gregory Soto. I have him going to Seattle. They have Gabe Spire in their bullpen. That's the only lefty that they really had, at least in the playoff run. Adding a Gregory Soto to complement Spire and then put in front of Munoz, I think Seattle will be active this offseason as well.
Yeah, I got Soto going to the Jays. The Jays desperately need a second lefty to go with Fluharty. Brendan Little was a disaster last season, and I think it would be a good fit in that Jays pen.
At 44, we have Pete Fairbanks. I have him going to the Phillies. I think he would fit in nicely there, but also it's the revolving door of closers that they have every single year. I
Yep.
think he could bring some stability. Still has a really good arm. Had a really good season, and the Phillies need a back end piece.
Yeah, well, they kind of swung and missed with Romano last offseason. So, yeah, that definitely could be a good fit. I have him sticking in the AL East going to Baltimore. Obviously, the big man got injured again. He's going to be out all next year. So, Fairbanks can slide in that closer's role nicely in Baltimore.
At 43, we have Sir Anthony Dominguez. I have him going to the A's. The A's have a young core. Their bullpen really faltered for them last year, especially after trading Mason Miller. So I
Yeah.
think Sir Anthony Dominguez will be amongst a couple of arms that they get, at least two. Spoiler alert, I got another one on this list, but I think Dominguez, nice back end piece, maybe even gets a chance to close some games.
Yeah, a guy that has had closing experience, had a really good postseason run with the Blue Jays. I have him going to the Dodgers. Dodgers are going to load up with a couple arms. They got a lot of money coming off the books, and I think they're gonna attack some elite relievers in this free agency.
At 42, we have Tyler Rogers. I have him going to the D backs. I think the D backs are going to spend on pitching and then try to acquire position player depth via trade. Um, yeah, I have him going to the D backs. They need some relievers, just like the A's last year. I mean, completely two different teams, but the bullpen was really banged up. And Tyler Rogers throws sub. He doesn't get banged up very often.
Yeah, I got Tyler Rogers going to Cincinnati. I think he'd be a really good fit with them. Cincinnati turned a lot of heads last year, and I think they're going to add a lot of pitching.
At 41, we have Luke Weaver. I have him going to the Tigers. I think that a big ballpark for a guy that had some home run trouble last year. Well, he'll fare well. It will be a 1 year deal. I mean, it says 2 years, 14 mil is the projection, but I think on a 1 year deal he can build his value back up and maybe he can get a closer spot the following year.
Yeah, I got Luke Weaver going to the Angels. I think he could slide into the seventh, eighth inning role there. A guy that was really good for the Yankees on the year they went to the World Series, had some ups and downs last year, but I think it'd be a good fit in Anaheim.
At 40, we have Kyle Finnegan. I have him going to the A's. I think him and Sir Anthony Dominguez going back to that pick could both gain some closing opportunities. They both have done it in the past. And I think adding an eighth and ninth inning guy to this rotation or this bullpen before they head off to Vegas will be key to succeed once they get there.
I got Finnegan going to Tampa Bay to take over Pete Fairbanks' job.
At 39, we have Cody Ponce. He's coming back from the KBO. The White Sox. The White Sox make sense here. They don't have any starting pitching right now, and he can slide in right there and basically have innings right off the jump.
Sorry, my fault. I had Finnegan going to the Mets. Sorry, and I have Cody Ponce going to Tampa Bay. My bad. Yeah, I got Cody Ponce going to Tampa Bay. He'll get some closing opportunity there for sure.
At 38, we have Justin Verlander. And I think that Justin Verlander is going to end up in Baltimore. Um, I just think Baltimore just gave 15 million to Charlie Morton last year, and they might just fall right back into it. They need some starting pitching. They need a guy that has done it before. So I do have Verlander going to Baltimore.
Yeah, I got Verlander going to Texas. Like, with the money situation there, you're not really sure kind of how much money they're going to spend. Obviously, they still got a decent squad, but Verlander would be a decent fit there.
At 36, we have Ryan Helsley. I have him going to Tampa. I think that Tampa's a good spot for him to go close games. They like their strikeout guys. His strikeout numbers did come down quite a bit last year, but they're the Rays. They always take in these guys and then they become elite again. So I have him going to Tampa.
Yeah, I got him going to the Cubs. The Cubs are gonna go in some relievers, get some relievers, but we got Glaber Torres too. Glaber, where do you got Glaber going?
Yeah, sorry, Glaber at 37. At 37, Glaber Torres is going to the Giants. I think the Giants were in his market last year. They can definitely use the upgrade at second base. He did just have surgery. He's projected a 4 year deal, so it might be coming at a risk.
Yeah, I got Glaber going to Seattle, to kind of take over Jorge Polanco's role. I think they were interested in him last year a little bit, but I could definitely see Glaber going to Seattle.
At 35, we have Zach Littell. I'm going to give him to the Cardinals. The Cardinals are projected to rebuild, let go of most of their older core. But Zach Littell seems like a guy that they can bring in and obviously slide right into his rotation, maybe take that Miles Mikolas rotation spot.
Yep.
And he had a decent year last year. He's only 30 years old. So,
Yeah, I got Zach Littell going and kind of helping out the back end of that rotation in Atlanta. Obviously, you know, you got the top dogs. So it'd be interesting to see what they do with Chris Sale this offseason, but I expect him to be back. But yeah, I have him going to Atlanta.
at 34, we have Luis Arise. I have him going to the Rockies. The Rockies infield as a whole is pretty bleak right now. New president of ops there. I think Luis Arise in that altitude isn't probably going to hit more homers, but he definitely could hit more doubles and triples. Regain some value, and they can use him at DH. They can use him at second. They can use him at first.
Yeah, I got Arias going to Minnesota. That's a good place to rebuild your value. He's comfortable. I think it would be a good fit there.
At 33, we have Nick Martinez. I have him going to the Rangers. The Rangers are going to lose a couple of arms, at least projected to.
Yeah.
They don't really look like they're going to spend much. At least that's what's came out is we're not spending a ton right now. But I think Nick Martinez at 35 years old wants to start. They've had these guys come in towards the back of their rotation the past couple of years, like a Michael Lorenzen. He's a better pitcher than Michael Lorenzen at this point, but he kind of reminds me of a guy that Texas would go and slide into their rotation.
Yeah, I have him going to Tampa Bay. I don't know how much money they're going to spend with kind of their ownership. Obviously, getting back to the Trop will be beneficial for them. Obviously, a tough year in that minor league park, and a return back to a major league stadium might attract some more pitchers to go there.
At 32, we have Raiso Iglesias. I have him going to the Cubs. The Cubs will need a back end piece. I know their bullpen fared pretty well last year, but I think bringing in a guy like Iglesias, who's has a long track record when they're trying to make the playoffs and hold down that division, I like Iglesias with Chicago.
Yeah, Iglesias market's going to be interesting. Obviously, he's a proven closer for a lot of years. I have him going to the Giants. Giants need a little bit of help that back end of that bullpen. I think he'd be a good fit there. Big ballpark, doesn't give up. He'll keep the ball in the yard in that ballpark. So.
At 31, we have Harrison Bader. I'm going to Cleveland. I know that he fit pretty well with Philly last year in a platoon role, but Cleveland just seems like a nice fit for him to go play some defense, hit a bit. And I really don't see him platooning much if he went there. So I think that's going to be important for him where he gets to play every single day.
Yeah, I have him going to Kansas City. Obviously, that's like a spacious outfield. He can go get it with the best of them. He had 17 home runs last year, so had a pretty good year coming over to Philly there. So, yeah, I have him going to the Royals.
At number 30, we have Ryan O'Hearn. Last year, the Nationals tried to get Nate Lau, and it didn't work out. Well, I think it worked out fine, but they ended up releasing him and him
Yeah.
going to the Red Sox. But I think they want a guy that they can sign to a multi-year deal. They've tried Josh Bell, they've tried Nate Lau.
Yeah.
Here's a left-handed hitting first baseman, Ryan O'Hearn, and I think they'll be in his market. And I think that he'd fit pretty well with their young core, even though he's on the north side of 30.
Yeah, I have O'Hearn going to the Cubs. Like you said, spoiler alert, we both have Kyle Tucker not re-signing with the Cubs, so they're going to need some pop to insert back into that lineup. So I have him going to the Cubs.
At 29, we have JT Realmuto. I tried to find a place for him to go
Yeah.
outside of Philly. I just don't see it. I think Philly at this point needs a catcher, and JT Realmuto loves the Phillies. So I think it's just a perfect marriage. I wouldn't be surprised if he finishes out his career there.
Yeah, I have him also going back to the Phillies. I thought about maybe him going to like somewhere like the Padres, but Philly just makes a lot of sense. He's kind of been like the heartbeat, kind of the steady presence in that lineup over the last like 5 years. So.
At 28, we have Ha-Sung Kim. I have him going to the Brewers, which might be kind of off the wall, but I don't know how important him playing shortstop every single day is to him. If he's willing to take that utility role and go third, short, or second, um, and hit against lefties, I think Milwaukee could be a place for him.
Yeah, it was a weird year for Kim last year. He signed that deal with Tampa Bay last year, then he got traded over to Atlanta. I have him going back to the Braves. They could use a bat like him again.
At 27, we have Lucas Giolito. Giolito got banged up at the end of the year right before the playoffs, which really hurt the Red Sox. The Red Sox signed him to a 2-year deal. He had Tommy John immediately, came back, had a nice year. I have him going to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Like I said earlier, I think the D-backs will be more active than we probably thought going into this offseason. And if they can add some guys with Corbin Burns coming back, like Giolito and another arm that I'll bring up later, yeah, I think that the rotation is one place where they really want to spend.
Yeah, I have him going to the Padres. Obviously, some tough news losing Hugh Darvish. Michael King's a free agent. Musgrove's coming off Tommy John. So, like, there's an immediate hole in that rotation for him to go, be the second starter in that rotation, be that third starter in that rotation. But him to the Padres makes a ton of sense.
At 26, we have Brad Keller. I have him going to the White Sox, and this might be not what you think. The White Sox can use him in both ways, either as a reliever, which he had success the last year, or I'm actually putting him on the White Sox because I think potentially this guy wants to start again.
Hmm.
And again, the White Sox don't have starters right now in that rotation, so they might be willing to take the risk on Brad Keller.
Yeah, no, definitely. I have Keller going to Detroit. Detroit needs to add back end pieces of that to that bullpen, and I think it makes a ton of sense for him to go to the Tigers.
At 25, we have Merrill Kelly. Merrill Kelly was traded to the Rangers last year. I think they'll try to bring him back, and mainly because they need the starters, like we talked about. And I also think it's just a really good fit.
Yeah, I'm going back to Arizona. I think for all the reasons you just mentioned a couple minutes ago, they're going to need to add a few starters to that rotation.
At 24, we have Chris Bassett. Bassett, I don't think will return to Toronto. It's possible. I know he loves it there.
Yeah.
I just don't know that Toronto, with all the spending that we expect them to do, is going to pony up, especially if it is the 2 years, 36 million, which is projected. So I actually have him going to the Giants and replacing Justin Verlander. He's a sinker ball pitcher, wouldn't give up many long balls in that ballpark. He did struggle with the long ball a little bit last year.
Yep.
So I think the Giants is a perfect spot. Plus, Bay Area, he played with the A's all those years. He knows the area.
Yeah, it was a very interesting season for Bassett. Obviously, he came out of the bullpen primarily in the playoffs, was pretty good for them. I have him going back to the Jays. I don't think like, if he goes back to the Jays, it's not going to be for the 18 mil. I think it'll be around the 13, 14 mil range for him, but it'll be interesting to see what his market kind of unfolds.
At number 23, we have Jorge Polanco. I have him going to the Angels. The Angels, again, are looking for left handed bats. They need left-handed bats. They really only have Nolan Schanuel right now. If they were to pull the trigger on Mullins, like I predicted earlier, and they were able to get a switch hitting Jorge Polanco, it balances out their lineup. And they need a third baseman. Anthony Rendon is not playing baseball anymore.
Yes, I have him going to Pittsburgh. This might be a very bad prediction, a little bit out of the box, but the Pirates need some help offensively. Can be a good fit there.
At 22, we have Shota Imanaga. My last Angels prediction is them adding a B tier type arm like they did a year ago with Yusei Kikuchi. It's another left-hander. They had Tyler Anderson coming off the books, or they have him coming off the books, and he made 13 million last year. Imanaga is projected 19 million. I think that's a guy that the Angels could look towards to have a 1, 2, 3 of Yusei Kikuchi, Imanaga, and Jose Soriano. They also are projecting Detmers to get moved back into the rotation. It would be three lefties, but that's something they've done in the past, so I wouldn't be surprised.
I got Imanaga going to Houston. Obviously, McCullers injury history, pardon me. He'd be a good guy to slot behind Hunter Brown.
At 21, we have Robert Suarez. I have him going to Philly. If it's not going to be Fairbanks, I think Robert Suarez can go and slide into that ninth inning. I'm kind of giving myself a buffer here.
Yeah.
I think they will land some type of closer, maybe not the top value closer, even though Robert Suarez had a really good year last year.
Yeah.
I think they are going to go get that ninth inning guy.
I got Suarez going to the New York Mets to kind of take over for Edwin Diaz.
At number 20, we have Eugenio Suarez. I have him going to the Mets. The Mets really haven't been referenced thus far offensively. They could definitely use an upgrade over either Jeff McNeil or B, Brett Beatty. So I can see Eugenio going and playing third base. And then on top of that, they don't have Pete Alonso right now. They need a guy that's going to go put the ball over the fence. So I have Suarez ending up in Queens.
I got Suarez going to the Red Sox. They're going to need somebody to play third base for them. I don't think that Bregman's going to go back there. We'll get to that in a second. But I think if they were to lose out on a guy like Bregman, this wouldn't be a second option. I mean, he had almost 50 homers last year.
At 19, we have Kazuma Okamoto. I have him going to the D-backs. Will be the one position player I think the D-backs will go and get. Jordan Lawler is projected to be their third baseman right now. I don't know. I'm not confident in that happening out of spring training. So I'm gonna go Okamoto to Arizona.
I got him going to the Angels. I mean, there's been a lot of speculation that he likes it. That's one of his choices, but Yeah, a guy that's got good bat to ball skills, I think would be a good fit either at third base or, see where we can put him on the infield.
At number 18, we have Trent Grisham. I have him going to the Royals. The Royals are looking for outfielders. I know probably more of a corner outfielder at this point, but I think Trent Grisham, coming off the year that he just had, the Royals need some more offense. And yeah, if they can pair him with Bobby Witt and Pascantino, and he continues to be the guy he was a year ago, I think it's also a non-pressure environment for him that can allow him to succeed, even
I got
when
Grisham
getting
going
money.
to Houston. There's maybe a surprising release of McCormick, but yeah, Grisham sounds like a really good fit in Houston.
At number 17, we have Brandon Woodruff, and I have him going to the Cubs. I know Milwaukee fans are probably wanting to stab their eardrums out hearing that, but Craig Counsell is there, and I expect that there will be some familiarity. And if he likes Craig Counsell, there's a chance that he ends up with the Cubs.
Yeah, I gotta go to Detroit. Detroit needs some help in that rotation.
At number 16, I have Devin Williams going to the Mets. He said it multiple times that he loved being a Yankee once he was able to get settled in. I just don't know if the Yankees loved him being a Yankee. We'll see. Um, but spoiler alert again, if Edwin Diaz finds himself elsewhere, they're going to need somebody to close games. And if he likes New York that much, might as well go to the Mets.
Yeah, I have Devin Williams going to the Dodgers. So I think the Dodgers are gonna get a couple of these back end relievers, and I think he'd be a good fit there.
At number 15, we have Zach Gallen. And my last Arizona pick, I have Gallen going back. I think they're going to really try to make their rotation sharp. He didn't have the greatest year last year. I could see him actually taking the qualifying offer.
I got Gallen going to Baltimore. Baltimore spent a lot of money in the wrong places last year, and I think that would be a good start to go.
At number 14, I have Michael King going to the Cubs. I think the Cubs, losing Imanaga and Justin Steele was hurt all last year. If they can add two arms and Woodruff and King, or Woodruff or King, yeah, I think that they're looking for a top end starter, a 2-3 type starter.
Yeah, I got King going to the Giants to form a nice little 1-2 punch there with the Giants there. So it'd be a good fit.
At number 13, I have Edwin Diaz going to the Yankees. The Yankees bullpen was all over the map last year. They traded for Bednar. Maybe they continue on with him as the closer. Yeah, they are losing Devin Williams. They are losing Luke Weaver. Why not add Edwin Diaz and make Bednar setup man? That's where I'm at right now.
I got Diaz going to the Jays. You said it off the top. We all know what happened in the World Series. Jeff Hoffman gave up the tying home run in the ninth. And I think if they can go out and get a guy like Edwin Diaz as an elite reliever, Hoffman slides down, it'd be a good fit.
At number 12, we had Josh Naylor going to Seattle, which actually happened tonight before we recorded this. It's a
Yep.
5-year deal. Well, I guess we're 1 for 1 in predictions, Blake.
There we go. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it just made sense.
Yeah.
He energized that city, that
Yeah.
team when he got traded over there. They clearly loved him.
Yep.
I thought maybe like a Nationals or maybe Boston, but I always felt that Seattle was the right move.
Yep.
At number 11, we have Pete Alonso, and we both have him going to Boston.
Yep.
The Red Sox may lose Alex Bregman, or they might not.
Yep.
But the truth is, I think we all know that Tristan Casas coming off of that leg injury is a big question mark.
Yep.
Nate Lau has a $12 million option. I don't know if they're tendering that contract. So I think Pete Alonso makes sense. He seems like a guy that would really fit in Boston, and he would crush balls over off that monster.
Yeah, I got Alonso. Yeah, we got them both going back to Boston. Sorry about that.
At number 10, we have Ranger Suarez. I think he's going to end up in Houston. I think Framber Valdez will find himself elsewhere. I think they would have gotten a contract extension done if he wanted to be there. But the Houston Astros need some pitching depth. They really only have Hunter Brown to really pen in right now. They have some other names, but they weren't very impressive last year. I think adding a Ranger Suarez, which is a left-hander, to complement Hunter Brown, probably will go for a little less money than Framber. I think he makes sense.
Yeah, I got Suarez going to the Jays. You mentioned it. They don't have many guys signed long term. The only guy they got long term is Barrios, and we don't really know what his elbow is going to do. But Ranger Suarez, they don't have a lefty in their rotation, so it definitely makes a lot of sense.
At number 9, we have Kyle Schwarber. It's like Real Muto. I just don't see him leaving. We'll see. I mean, there are some options there. Some other teams could use him and manipulate their roster in a different way. I just think he's meant to be in Philly and he really enjoys it there.
Philly fans might hate me, but I got him going to Atlanta. I think it makes a ton of sense. He can DH there, so a lot of added pop to that lineup.
At number 8, we have Cody Bellinger. I have him going back to the Yankees. The Yankees lost Soto last year. Is Bellinger Juan Soto? No, but I don't think the Yankees want to lose another left-handed bat
Yeah.
that had a really nice year for them. They can put him in the outfield. If Ben Rice doesn't work out at first base later in the contract, he could slide over to first base. Stanton's almost done with his contract. There's going to be some options, whether it be DH in the outfield, first base. He's versatile.
I got Bellinger going back to the Dodgers. Obviously, you saw what Paul has did in the playoffs. They need some help. Kike just got surgery. Not sure he's going to be back. He definitely makes a lot of sense back to Hollywood.
At number 7, we have Tatsuya Imai. I have him going to the Mets. I think that the Mets will need some arms. They can't really bank on Senga at this point. They're even talking about trading him.
Yeah.
Sean Manaea can't really bank on him either. So I think they're going to be looking for that guy that they can go and get and anchor their rotation. From what I understand, Amai is as good as some of the other guys that came over, if not better. So some people are saying he's better than Yamamoto. I guess we shall see, especially after that World Series performance. But I mean, if he's anything close to Yamamoto, the Mets would be winning in this.
Yeah, I got him going to the Yankees. Obviously, you got Garrett Cole coming off Tommy John. The emergence of Schlittler definitely helps, but Amaya would definitely round out that rotation.
At number 6, we have Framber Valdez, and I have him going to the Toronto Blue Jays. I think the Blue Jays, again, are hungry to get back to the World Series and finish it off this time. They don't have a left-handed pitcher in the rotation, like you had said. I think Framber Valdez is the perfect fit. He's a gamer. He'll throw you 2-3 complete games a year, get deep into games. He's a sinker baller, would fit really well in that rotation. And it wouldn't even surprise me if he ended up being the ace in that rotation.
Yeah, I got Framber Valdez going to the Mets. I think it makes a ton of sense. Valdez is like you said, he's a gamer. He's done it a long time, and it makes a lot of sense.
At number 5, we have Alex Bregman, and I have him going back to Boston. If they can get Pete Alonso and they can get Alex Bregman, this Red Sox team could win the AL East next year, in my opinion. Their young core is that good.
Yep.
They'll be getting Roman Anthony back. They have Crochet. They have Aroldis Chapman in the back end. If they were to go and spend, and they have the money to do so, on Bregman and Pete Alonso, I think, the stars are the limit for them.
I got Bregman going to the Tigers. They offered him a contract last year. It didn't work. That would have been a very good ad for them. I think they try again this year, and I think they land him this time.
At number 4, we have Munetaka Murakami, and I have him going to the Seattle Mariners. The Mariners, again, they were right there as well with the Jays of going to the World Series. Fell a little bit short. I don't think Corey Polanco is coming back, and I don't think Eugenio Suarez would go back either. He did not really do well his 2 stints there.
Yeah.
He's talked about the ballpark, how it's tough to hit there. Murakami's a left-handed bat. They just added a left-handed bat back with Josh Naylor, and they need a third baseman. So if they don't have Polanco back and they don't get Suarez back, Murakami provides some power. And also, of course, the Ichiro connection. I think that Japanese players would like to play in Seattle.
Yeah, I got Murakami going to the Mets, hot corner. You have Suarez going there. I got Murakami. I think it makes a ton of sense. They need a third baseman, left-handed bat. Beatty's been kind of whatever for them, but I think him going to the Mets makes a ton of sense.
At number 3, we have Dylan Cease, and the Phillies are going to have to replace Ranger Suarez with somebody. I think Cease makes a lot of sense. He's young enough to give a multi-year deal. Zach Wheeler is towards the end of his career. I like the fit with Philly.
Yeah, I also like the fit with Philly too. I haven't gone to Boston to kind of team up with Garrett Crochet again. I think they're losing Giolito. There's some room in that rotation. I think that'd be a very good 1-2 punch in Boston.
At number two, we have Bo Bichette. I think old friend Alex Anthopoulos is going to go get his guy. They need a shortstop, man. And they've needed a shortstop for a while since Stansby Swanson has left. I think Bo Bichette at 28 fits their timeline really well with Acuna and Harris and even Albies and Austin Riley there. So yeah, I think that Alex Anthopoulos is going to make his splash, and I think Bo Bichette is his guy.
Yeah, I got Bo Bichette going back to the Jays. It's hard to imagine the Jays without Bo Bichette in that lineup. He stated countless times he wants to stay there. It's kind of up to Rogers now to pony up and pay him. The Jays can go in multiple directions. I mean, they're going to be in the Kyle Tucker sweepstakes. They're going to be in the sweepstakes for some starting pitching. But um, if Rogers wants to pay Bichette, I think Bichette will be a J. But who knows? They might go a different direction, which would be kind of interesting. But yeah, I have him going back to the Jays.
And at number one, we're finally there. We have Kyle Tucker, and I think Kyle Tucker is going to the Dodgers. I haven't picked one Dodgers pick this entire video. I'm sure they'll land multiple guys on this list, but for one thing that's certain, I think they're 100% going after Kyle Tucker. Um, yeah, they're losing Michael Conforto, who was making 20 million last year. They're losing Clayton Kershaw, who was making what 15 million. So that's 35 million right there. Well, guess what? Kyle Tucker is projected to make 35 million a year. He's only 29. They're gonna need a guy to be a presence in that lineup once Mookie, starts aging out and Freeman starts aging out, which he already's begun. Yeah, and it's another left-handed bat to go with Shohei Ohtani. So Kyle Tucker, Dodgers, I think it's a done deal.
And it'd be interesting to see. I got Tucker going to Philly. Philly, like it's an aging core. They need another young star to come and kind of inject some. No, I don't want to say youth in that lineup, but he's 29 years old. He's in the prime of his career. Him teaming up with, like, let's face it, the Phillies time to win is getting closer and closer to being shut, right? Realmuto's a free agent. Harper's getting up there in age. Castellanos is in the last year of his deal. Wouldn't be surprised if he was moved. So there's definitely some room in the outfield for Kyle Tucker to go to Philly. But yeah, it's a lot of uh, interesting names on this lineup. Free agency. It's gonna be interesting to see where some of these guys go.
Yeah, well, if you're still here, thank you guys. We promise our videos won't be this long all the time. Really looking forward to this off season. Obviously we're more of an off season transactional type channel, and we're back, and it feels good to be back. So as always, we appreciate you guys for listening and watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Later.